The Galactic Council's impossible problem. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. The chamber, a vast, multi-tiered structure floating within the heart of the Orion expanse, was usually a place of diplomacy, negotiation, and carefully structured debates. Today, however, the atmosphere was anything but orderly. The representatives of hundreds of spacefaring species sat in eerie silence, their various appendages, tendrils, and ocular clusters focused intently on the massive holographic display floating above the central dais. High Chancellor Rixel of the Zafari Republic, a being composed almost entirely of translucent, liquid-like matter, flickered in a series of stressed pulsations. This is unprecedented," they said, their voice vibrating through the chamber. "Are you certain these reports are accurate?" From the lower platform, Ambassador Vel of the Shalarin, a species with a reputation for meticulous record-keeping and ruthless efficiency, adjusted the collar of his pressure suit, a rare gesture of unease from one of his kind. "We have verified the data 3 times over. Every signal, every trace, every attempt at contact, it all leads to the same conclusion." The council members leaned in collectively, their various species-specific expressions of concern becoming evident. "The humans," Vel continued, his tone unreadable, "have ghosted us." A ripple of disbelief cascaded through the chamber. Representatives exchanged glances, some expressing shock, others confusion. "Define ghosted," demanded Overlord Skrull of the Etheri Dominion, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's artificial lights. The Etheri were an empire built on conquest, one that had long prided itself on their ability to assimilate or destroy all opposition. They were not accustomed to being ignored. Vel exhaled, tapping a command into his interface. The holographic display shifted, showing a vast region of the Milky Way previously inhabited by human colonies, trade routes, and research stations. Instead of the usual signs of interstellar activity, it showed nothing. "All human systems," Vel stated, "have gone dark. No transmissions, no comms, no energy signatures beyond automated systems maintaining orbital stability. Every known human colony, space station, and outpost has been abandoned or placed in some kind of deep stasis." The silence in the chamber was now deafening. "They left?" High Chancellor Rixel asked, voice a distorted whisper. "But why? And how could they move so quickly?" Ambassador Vel turned grim. "We don't know. All we have are traces, logs of ships vanishing into deep space, coded messages that suggest a mass exodus, but no indications of where they went. A holographic representation of Earth, their supposed homeworld, flashed above the chamber. It, too, had changed. A thick shroud of satellite debris now enveloped the planet, and any attempt to breach it was met with automated defense systems of terrifying efficiency. "We attempted to land a diplomatic probe," Vel continued. "It was vaporized before it even reached orbit." The council erupted into furious debate. The idea that an entire species, particularly one as reckless, loud, and chaotically brilliant as the humans, could simply vanish was incomprehensible. "We have monitored the humans for centuries," Rixel murmured. "They were reckless, unpredictable, but to simply leave without a trace, that is not in their nature." Skrull's mandibles clicked in frustration. "They must be hiding. No species willingly abandons its claim to power without resistance." Bob, the representative of the interdimensional collective, which was technically a singular consciousness spanning multiple realities, hummed in thoughtful agreement. "It does seem uncharacteristic. The humans are deeply attached to what they build. It is unlikely they simply walked away without reason." "That is not all," Vel said, his voice growing darker. "We intercepted one final transmission before their systems went dark. It was broadcast across every known frequency, in every major galactic language." With a wave of his hand, he played the message. At first, there was only static. Then, a voice, calm, composed, and unmistakably human. "To those who are listening, Don't follow us. You wouldn't understand. We'll be back when we're ready. Until then, stay out of our way." The message ended with an image, a black and white recording of a human male, smirking as he leaned back in a chair. A single phrase in human English appeared below the image. "See you soon." The chamber was silent once more. The implications were terrifying. Humanity had not been conquered. They had not been defeated. They had not even retreated. They had chosen to disappear. Rixel, usually a beacon of calm diplomacy, shuddered. "What do we do?" It was Bob who finally broke the silence. "We wait," they said. "And we pray that when they return, it is not as something we can no longer comprehend. Far beyond the edges of known space, in a place where no galactic species dared to venture, massive constructs hummed in eerie unison. Hundreds of human vessels, bristling with technologies no outsider had ever seen, floated in perfect formation. Humanity had not disappeared. They were simply preparing. For what? No one knew, but they would soon. The silent exodus. The Galactic Council had faced countless crises in its long history. Wars, rebellions, planetary catastrophes. Each had been met with careful diplomacy, or in some cases, overwhelming force. But this was something else entirely. Humanity had vanished. Not in defeat, not in desperation, but by choice. The silence that followed their exodus was unnatural, and it gnawed at the very foundations of the galactic order. A species as loud, unpredictable, and stubborn as humanity didn't just fade into obscurity. If anything, they should have been expanding, causing chaos, making bizarre diplomatic proposals, or pushing the limits of known science in ways that alarmed the more conservative races. But instead, they were simply gone. And that terrified the Council more than any war ever had. The search for answers. Skrull, overlord of the Ethari Dominion, stood motionless in the dim glow of the Galactic Council's intelligence chamber. The screens before him flickered with fragmented data, ghost signals, sensor anomalies, coded messages buried beneath layers of quantum encryption, signs of it years in advance. And yet, interjected Bob, the representative of the interdimensional collective, we didn't. Bob's form rippled in and out of visible existence, a result of existing partially outside of linear time. Even now, as we search for them, we find only what they allowed us to see. A cold silence followed. It was true. The deeper the Council dug, the less they understood. Human data networks were sealed, purged or rerouted into infinite loops. Their infrastructure, once brimming with life, had been left intact but utterly vacant. Even the Terran homeworld, Earth, had been left behind. But something was different. A holographic projection of Earth flickered into view. To the untrained eye, it looked the same. Its blue oceans, swirling clouds, and vast continents still familiar. But to those who had seen it before, something felt off. "Run a comparative analysis," Vel ordered. Within moments, the computer displayed the last known scans of Earth before humanity's disappearance. Side by side, the two images looked almost identical. Almost. Then the AI spoke. Discrepancy detected. Gravitational mass reduction, 0.3%. Axial shift, 0.02 degrees. Orbital decay, 0.001%. Subsurface temperature variance, plus 2.1 Kelvin. The numbers meant nothing to the average observer, but to a species like the Shalarin, whose engineering expertise was unmatched, it was a revelation. Vel's hands trembled. They took something. Skrull frowned. Took what? Vel exhaled sharply. The core. The chamber froze. They took Earth's core. Skrull repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Vel nodded. Not all of it, but enough. Enough to fuel something massive. Enough to alter the planet's structure itself. Bob shimmered, considering the implications. That's not just an evacuation. No, Vel agreed. That's preparation. The message from the void. The realization sent shockwaves through the council. But before they could act, an alarm sounded. The deep space sensors had detected something new. A probe, small, metallic, and distinctly human, had emerged from the darkness beyond mapped space. It drifted toward the outer edge of the Council's territory, carrying one simple transmission. With bated breath, the Council activated the message. A human appeared, an older man, grizzled, clad in a simple uniform. His eyes, however, carried something deeper. A warning. To the Galactic Council, he began, his voice calm but firm. You have questions. You want to know where we went, what we are doing. The truth is, you don't need to know. The chamber was silent, every representative hanging onto his words. We have left because we must. There are things moving in the dark, things you do not see, things you cannot comprehend. You believe you are at the center of the galaxy's affairs. You are wrong. A flicker of static ran through the feed. Then his voice lowered. We are preparing. We are building. Not against you, but against something far worse. You do not want to know. Stay out of our way. The hologram flickered, but the message wasn't done. The final image was a star chart, a map of the galaxy with dozens of coordinates marked in red. Bob's form rippled. What are those? The AI answered before anyone else. Dead systems. Every one of those coordinates leads to a world that was once inhabited. Now, silent, lifeless. The feed ended. The probe self-destructed. And the Council was left with a choice. Ignore the warning, or find out what was so terrible that even humanity, reckless, unstoppable humanity, chose to flee. Far beyond the Council's reach, hidden in the darkest corners of space, an armada was forming. A fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And deep within the heart of that fleet, in a place where no light should reach, a structure pulsed with power. A machine, a weapon, a defense. And when it was finished, the galaxy would never be the same. The dark beyond. The Council chamber was frozen in stunned silence. The message from the human probe still hung in the air, its words echoing through every species' mind. We are preparing. We are building. Not against you, but against something far worse. The star map, riddled with dead systems, flickered ominously above them. Worlds that had once been teeming with life were now nothing more than graveyards. High Chancellor Rixel's liquid-like form pulsed erratically, a sign of deep distress among the Zephyri. Dead systems. The humans are implying. An extinction event. Fel of the Shalarin was still staring at the map, his mind racing. Not implying. He exhaled sharply, confirming. Overlord Skrull of the Ytheri, ever the skeptic, narrowed his eyes. A scare tactic. Nothing more. The humans are manipulating us. His mandibles twitched in annoyance. This is an elaborate deception. Bob, the representative of the interdimensional collective, let out a low, resonant hum. No, they murmured. This is real. I have seen fractures in the time stream. Something is shifting. A deep unease settled over the chamber. The implications were too vast, too terrifying to comprehend. And then the alarms blared. The impossible signal. An urgent message flashed across every display in the chamber. Unidentified energy signature detected beyond the outer rim. Signal strength, unprecedented. A massive holographic feed of the edge of the galaxy appeared. The black void stretched endlessly, untouched by known civilizations. Yet now something moved within it. A faint, pulsing beacon, a signal so deep, so ancient, that no known technology could have produced it. It's coming from the Perseus Vale. A technician's voice crackled over the intercom. A location long believed to be uninhabitable. Vel's blood ran cold. The Vale. The Perseus Vale was a region of space untouched, unexplored, avoided. Even the most reckless of species refused to enter. Ships that strayed too close vanished. No signals ever returned. No remnants were ever found. And now, Something was calling from inside. Skrall's claws tightened. Intercepted. Decoded. The Council's best minds worked furiously, running algorithms through advanced translation matrices, desperate to understand. And then, after long, agonizing minutes, the signal played. The message from the abyss. A deep, guttural hum filled the chamber. Not a voice, but a feeling. A pressure against their minds, cold and infinite. And then the words formed. "We have watched you." A shudder rippled through the chamber. This was no ordinary signal. This was something alive. "You are not alone in this place. You never were." Chancellor Rixel's form dimmed in horror. They knew. The humans knew. The signal pulsed again, but this time, it wasn't directed at the Council. It was heading somewhere else. Skrall's eyes widened in sudden understanding. It's not a broadcast. Vel's breath caught in his throat. It's a response. The message had been sent toward the dead systems, toward the very coordinates the humans had marked. Something was waking up. The humans' last warning. And then, another alert. "New incoming transmission," the AI announced. "Human origin." The chamber braced itself as a second human probe emerged from subspace, delivering a final message. A new figure appeared, a woman this time. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes carried the weight of a species that had seen something truly horrifying. "This is the last time we will say this." Her voice was controlled, but beneath it lay an unmistakable undercurrent of fear. "We didn't run. We didn't hide. We saw what was coming. We saw what the rest of you refused to acknowledge." She leaned forward. "Leave it alone." The signal trembled slightly. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Don't go looking. Don't investigate. And for the love of whatever gods you believe in, don't answer." Her next words were barely above a whisper. "We're already too late." A shattered piece. The message cut out. The probe self-destructed in a controlled energy burst, leaving only a faint trail of dark matter radiation in its wake. The chamber was deathly silent. And then, as if the universe itself were reacting to the warnings, a new event unfolded. The outermost sensors of the Council's border worlds went dark. One by one, outposts ceased transmitting. Entire planets lost contact. Something was moving. Something ancient. Something that even humanity had chosen to run from. High Chancellor Rixel's form flickered wildly. "What have we done?" Bob's form shivered. "No," they murmured. "The question is, what have they woken up?" And far beyond the edges of known space, in the place where the humans had vanished to, vast ships began to stir. Humanity had not fled. They had been preparing. Because they knew the war was coming. And this time, the galaxy would not be ready. The awakening in the dark. The moment the last human transmission ended, the Galactic Council chamber was thrown into chaos. Arguments erupted across the floor. Translations struggled to keep up as representatives of countless species talked over each other in fear, disbelief, and raw confusion. The humans had warned them. They had vanished to prepare for something. And now, something was responding. The silent void breaks. Hell of the Shalarin ignored the shouting around him. His reptilian fingers flew across the control panel in front of him, replaying the human's message frame by frame. "Don't go looking. Don't investigate. And for the love of whatever gods you believe in, don't answer." It wasn't just a warning. It was a plea. Vel turned toward the others, his voice rising over the commotion. "We need to cut all transmissions now." High Chancellor Rixel's translucent form flickered with agitation. "What?" Vel's scales darkened in urgency. "Shut down all long-range beacons, halt all deep space scans, and jam all outbound signals. If the humans were right, if we just answered something." The chamber's lights flickered. An emergency alert blared. A young officer from the monitoring station turned, her many eyes wide with terror. "Outer Colony LZ-46 has gone dark." The room fell silent. Rixel's voice was barely a whisper. What do you mean, gone dark? The officer swallowed hard. All comms cut. Orbital satellites. Offline. There's no energy signature, no distress beacon. It's just gone. Vel's heart hammered. A fully populated colony world. Erased. The screen above them flickered. A final transmission from LZ-46 had been partially recovered. Put it through, Rixel commanded. The image appeared. The last transmission of LZ-46. At first, the screen was static. Then, through the interference, a single figure appeared. A Salari scientist, their golden carapace glowing with emergency warnings. Their mandibles clicked rapidly in their native tongue. The auto-translator struggled to keep up. Coming through the dark, waking up. Behind them, the walls groaned. Not explosions, not weapons fire. The station itself was warping. Something massive moved behind them. The feed distorted. Shadows slithered across the background, as if reality itself were being rewritten. Not natural. Wrong. And then, a horrible, piercing sound. Not static. Not interference. It was a noise that shouldn't exist. A sound that bent physics, twisted perception, a whisper that reached into the mind and unraveled thought itself. And then, silence. The transmission cut out. The LZ-46 was gone. The fear sets in. No one spoke. No one breathed. Even the Etheri, warriors who had conquered hundreds of systems, sat frozen in their seats. Bob's void form flickered in and out of existence. That sound, they whispered. It was not a language. It was something else. Rixel's glow had dimmed to a pale, frightened blue. Is it possible? Vel cut him off, his voice urgent. We just answered a call we were never meant to hear. The humans had known, and they had tried to stop them from listening. The nightmare emerges. Another alarm blared. New contact detected. A deep space probe, one of the hundreds monitoring the Perseus Veil, had picked up a disturbance. The Council's display zoomed in on the edge of the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Perseus Veil had been a void of nothingness, a place where no species dared to travel. Until now, something was moving. The darkness itself was shifting. A massive rupture formed in space, a jagged tear in reality, stretching thousands of kilometers wide. And then, they saw it. The first glimpse of the enemy. A shape emerged from the rift. No ship, no recognizable construct. It was wrong. A being of pure darkness, its form shifting, flickering between dimensions. It had no fixed shape, no organic structure, just a living shadow with too many eyes, too many limbs, and a presence that made even the strongest-willed species feel like their minds were unraveling. It was ancient, beyond understanding, and it was looking directly at them. The Galactic Council panicked. Opened fire. Skrull roared, slamming a claw against the emergency command. The outermost defense satellites activated, unleashing a storm of plasma, railgun fire, and gravitational torpedoes. The weapons never landed. They simply vanished, consumed by the darkness, erased. Bob's void-like form shrank in horror. It's not a ship. It's not even a creature. It's... And then the thing moved. The call to the lost. It didn't attack. It didn't send a fleet. Instead, the darkness spread. A second signal erupted from the anomaly, one that pulsed across the galaxy. And suddenly, other dead systems answered. The Council's screens lit up with horror. More rifts began forming in space. On planets thought to be long dead, something was waking up. It hadn't just been watching. It had been waiting. Vel's claws dug into the console. The humans were right, he whispered. This isn't a war. This is a reckoning. The humans react. And then, the humans reappeared. Not with a warning. With a fleet. They burst from subspace without transmissions, without demands. Their ships were larger than before, faster, more advanced. They had been building something, and now they were using it. Leading the charge was a ship that shouldn't exist. Massive, sleek, bristling with weapons that no species could identify. Its core pulsed with an energy that distorted time itself. The human commander's voice cut through every open frequency. You didn't listen. A pause. Now you fight, or you die.